We're moving on to a CX-based approach now, a systems-based viewpoint. I'd like to introduce Karen Root. She's got a wealth of experience in CX in general, and obviously she's had many years to understand, create, and implement very effective CX platforms across a variety of different types of organizations. I'll leave that at that, but Karen's going to be speaking on how to know when the journey is wrong, CX on a systems level. In addition, Karen's got a very interesting background. She's actually just yet another author we have in the room. Karen's recently authored her 4th book, an Amazon bestseller. Rent, Vent, or Tissue, I believe, is the title of that one. And she's also the founder of the North Carolina Equestrian Center in Reidsville, North Carolina. She co-founded that with her daughter, who's a veterinarian, and they operate an equestrian center on 32 acres. So in addition to a healthcare role, she authors, and soon to be 5 books, in fact, and runs a 32-acre equestrian center. So she's a very busy lady. So even more thankful are we to have her with us today to speak on the CX topic. There'll be a little bit of time at the end for Q&A, but please join me in welcoming Karen as our next speaker this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. So appreciate it. It was just a couple of years ago that we launched Signature Experience at one of Simon's events. So I so appreciate the partnership and super excited about the speakers and presenters we've had today. I love customer experience. I love this whole experience strategy and design. I think this has to be one of the coolest jobs out there. I will say I've learned a couple of things. One of the things I always share is I say success leaves clues, and the clues are of pulling together the strings of what makes this super exciting. This, for me, is a combination of some key people I like to channel as I do the work. One is John Douglas, who if you don't know, he is the developer of FBI profiling. He has been the mastermind of that title. Mastermind, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's phenomenal. Seth Godin is another inspiration, of course, from the marketing capability that he has, and really Steve Jobs, from so many things, from branding to digital UX, IX, everything X. And I love to go into work with thinking about them and what they bring to it. This area is so powerful. If you think about what we do every day in architecting experiences, we design what people live. That is hugely powerful and extremely exciting. Until some days when reality hits the fan and you'll be in a meeting and looking at a journey and suddenly it doesn't work. You can't go any further. Something happens that it's blocked. CX, when it's done well, is extremely easy. If you go and seek to understand your customers, whichever customer it is, and you can identify their pain points, and then you improve them and measure and optimize it, it's amazing. Extremely powerful, super smooth, until it isn't. But how do you know what went wrong? It can be beautifully designed and still be wrong. So the first success leave clue is it may optimize touch points, but it doesn't work. What backs up? It should be advancing decisions. It should be looking at moments that matter. What's a moment that matters? A moment that matters is a decision point, a moment of high emotion, or some other decisive path that has to be chosen, walked down, maneuvered. Omnichannel was brought through, and now we have lots and lots of ways, but it can make the wrong journey faster. How do we move this customer through our sequence is not the question. what is the person trying to resolve and what would help them move forward. It's their journey, not ours. These are some clues on, a company-centered journey. That's wrong just to begin with. It's wrapped in the customer on the outside. We say, oh, this is a patient journey, or this is an HCP journey. And then when we look at it, what do we see? Campaign stages, channel ownership, the brand messages. These are all clues to say the journey's wrong. There's 4 diagnostic lenses I like to recommend as we go through. One is, whose journey is it? If you have a journey and you haven't done the persona, it's wrong. Journeys are founded on how a person perceives situations. It must be started with that individual, either if it's a patient, an HCP, a payer, understanding the person. If you have more than one, you have more than one. Why do you have more than one? What are those attributes and drivers that make one person not representative of the whole? If you can get down to the individual level, all the better. But the fundamental preference is the persona gives us a way to look holistically at the human being. It could have layers of clinical, empathetic, access and reimbursement. All of these are fine. It doesn't just have to be emotional journeys, but there are clues in that journey, right? And as we look at the persona, they give us the direction for those clues. They tell us the types of things that they like, don't like, how they'll come across something. Are they a skeptic? Are they risk averse? Their perception to the journey is going to change. So you must start with the persona. If you haven't started with persona, the journey's going to be wrong. The other aspect of whose journey is it is that it's not inside out. The company's so often afraid that they're going to lose money if they serve the customer. And I can guarantee you the data over and over and over states you will win if you make it better for your patients, better for your HCPs, better for the payers, better for whatever customer you're designing for. If you make their experience better as an organization, you will win. But a lot of folks worry, and so they want to shortcut it and start driving. But if we just look at what we need to get out, if our messages, no, the journey's going to be wrong. So really back everybody up, breathe through it, and look at whose journey is it. Understand them deeply, and then move on to the next step, and that is, what are you solving for? Journeys can be amazingly diverse, right? You can have an ecosystem journey where you're trying to capture everything. You can find a journey for a specific area, and then you can take it down to the micro journey. For that moment that matters, what are they doing before, during, and after that specific moment? And you can design and solve for that. It's amazing work, and measure, by the way. It's great. The other aspect, as many people work with agencies, or you may be an agent, when you're designing the journeys, it should never be idealistic. Without pain, we cannot solve problems. Pain is our clue of where to work, where to look, where to improve. If the journey comes to you from anybody's design, and here's the ideal journey, we're just going to do these things, you've missed the most important part of the journey. What's not working? Where are the gaps? Where are things in friction? I love the challenge. I love to look for the areas of friction because I know that's where to focus. That's where we can make things better. So make sure we're looking at not an ideal state. Reality all the way will serve you so much better because these are human beings. So they will tell you when you do it right. They'll tell you. You'll get the feedback, and it will make a difference in what they experience. And then, of course, measurement. We can't be without the measurement of this. And I always like to say, what evidence would show if we are successful? And you should look for qualitative and quantitative metrics in that. Right? We want to hear from the customer. They will tell you if the cycle time's faster. They will tell you if they were able to get a solution to a question that they were asking. They will tell you if things still don't work quite right. So make sure that we're looking for the evidence and finding those clues. The biggest one here that I stumble upon so many times with the different teams is we're not going to do the research. We think we know. Has anybody ever heard we think we know? We think we know a lot about our customers, but without actually asking them, without doing the work, we don't necessarily know, right? So beware, we think we know, because oftentimes it's missing the ability to identify those friction points, those pain points, those challenges that are truly opportunities in disguise. The warning signs, I say look for them in layers. There's really three. One is the behavioral truth. What are people actually doing, right? We think we have a journey. We're doing this activity. They're coming to the website for this purpose, but are they really? What evidence shows that? Have we asked them and talked to them about it? If you haven't, go back and do that, because that's where you'll get the truth. So it's the behavioral level that we want to explore. What is the truth and what your customer is doing? The operation is looking at the systems, right? What is slowing us down? What is failing? What is repeating work or duplicating work? Those are areas where we can look inside and say, how are we performing? A lot of pain for customers comes from us. Policies, procedures that we put in place as businesses cause pain for the customer. We can't take calls on the weekend. We don't process anything after 5. Whatever those situations are, they are causing pain for your customers. They're operational systems issues that we can actually solve for. And then the human truth, right? What are your customers basically saying, feeling, avoiding, or misunderstanding? Are you clear? Is the communication evident? When we accept the error in spelling, do we correct it and show them the real one? Do we have the whole conversation to show what they really should be looking at, what they really want to be seeing? So it's making sure we read those warning signs and take a look at how we can improve the experience, but the clues are out there. And then I like to suggest to design that journey like a system, right? Making sure we're looking at what are the jobs to be done. And jobs to be done, there's a whole theory around that work, but the question and the premise is, what is the customer there to do? If it's a patient, we can still look at jobs to be done as a patient. I have to understand what's happening to me. I have to seek diagnosis. I have to get medication, stay on therapy, right? If you're at HCP, there's different jobs to be done, payers, and anybody else in the system. But what are their jobs? How's that going for them? Is it working? How's it working? Where are the parts that are stuck, failing, friction, all those elements? And then how do we identify those moments that matter? Looking across the friction points that block progress is a great place to start. The places where the customers are the least happy, that's where I go first, because that's where you can win. And if you look across the journey as a whole, if you take the worst experience and you elevate that, then the journey holistically is elevated. Then you go for the next ones that are on the bottom of the list. If they cause friction, if they cause pain, there's the greatest opportunity to turn that challenge all the way around for a customer. Then you want to look at cross-functional ownership. Who is actually responsible and accountable for this journey? I can guarantee it's more than you. So how do we get them involved, and how do we connect ourselves to the results? Build compliance and trust into the process. In the design, the very design should make sure that the customer can build trust from the experience. Trust with us, trust with the organization. Measure, of course, it all comes back to that. We cannot manage what we don't measure. So we want to look at the decision process too, not just the engagement. So if we're looking at somebody's journey, we want them to flow through that journey. what are the parts that are stopping them from moving on, right? How are they making decisions? How are they moving? How are they engaging? And what can we do to help them to make that easier, to take away that friction? And of course, refresh that journey based on the evidence. When we collect the data, it tells the truth. So looking at that and making sure it's reflective of the experience we want them to have. A redesigned playbook for wrong journeys. It can make confusion, delay, of course, create access gaps, and just break down trust. So the right journey does not just move somebody through a campaign. It moves care forward. That's the most important thing that we have to realize. Our mission is connected to their success. And whatever customer you have, that success is all relegated to moving progressively through that journey. Make journey health a governance mandate. Again, the question of when your journey gets stuck and it just is really difficult, you can feel it. The meetings that you go to will reflect it. Everything becomes a slog. We don't know what to do next. We're not really sure how to move forward from here. They are all clues that something is wrong in the journey's design. Go back to the beginning. What is your customer trying to solve for? And if you didn't know who your customer is, go there. Personas first, then journeys. And make sure we're looking at the holistic part of the journey. It may not be the prettiest map, but it's the one that's brave enough to reflect that our intended route may not be their reality. And as soon as we're able to admit that, then we can find the biggest points of pain. Then we can transform them and change the entire experience. Our ability to address pain points and needs is what really elevates retention, builds loyalty, and ultimately trust. And that's what creates customer advocacy. And really, it's about knowing the warning signs. You guys are in the most incredible area of business. It's John Douglas, Seth Godin, Steve Jobs, all rolled up into one. And my last success means clues is, as you go into work, swipe your badge first, and then you can introduce yourself as Root, Karen Root.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
We're making good time. We've got plenty of time for questions and comments if anybody wants to chime in and add to this. I know obviously we've switched. Anyone?
Question.
Karen, give us just a bit more of a synopsis about the book that you've just authored that's coming out, because I know obviously there's some tangible anecdotes from that as well.
The newest one? Or
yes,
the one that just came out?
The one, I don't know if you want to spoil the fifth one, but yeah, whatever you're comfortable with.
That's fine. The one that just came out is called Wrench, Vent, or Tissue, and it's a systems approach. I'm a huge systems thinker and an experienced designer, so it's a systems approach to communication that really builds trust and prevents fight. I designed it with my daughter, who we are both massive introverts, and getting through life of having the conversation for me to show up differently, not just show up as a mom, not just show up to listen, but if it's a wrench, I'm here to help fix it. If it's a vent, I'm here to let her get it out, and then we move on from there. And if it's a tissue, I'm there to provide empathy, not to judge, not to tell her what to do, not to do anything else, but show up as she needs to. So she would come to me and say, wrench, okay, what do we got to solve? Or vent, or tissue. And over 26 years, it's been the most successful part of parenting I could say I bring.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Yes. Just prompted some.
Hi.
Hi.
With brand planning coming up, because we all know it's in the
We're in
midst. We're in it. What is one thing that you, based off of everything you presented, what is one thing that you would tell higher-ups, leaderships, to kind of understand this concept without them having to dive too deep into it, but to start thinking about it?
Yeah, the biggest thing is that experience design is not intended to add new layers of work. It shouldn't feel like complexity. It should feel refreshing, that it's built in to make our work optimized. It's better work. It should actually go faster. If they're like, oh, we don't want to take the time to develop personas. One is to match their language, right, of faster decision making, better optimization, utilization of resources, efficiency, profitability. These are the language that they speak. Meet them where they are and speak their language first. Because CX is a whole different thing, and most of them don't understand it, nor do they want to. So if you start with speaking their language and talk about what resonates with them, then you will get the time to do the work. But it also has to be done well, because if you end up with a journey with no persona and it's just blogging everything up, it will shut down real fast. So start by meeting them where they are with their language, and then work on starting with personas and make the journey right.
So I do consulting. I work with some larger clients, some smaller clients. I agree with you 100% on having the persona and the journey. Where it gets a little muffled is sometimes they don't want to do too many personas, because sometimes you need multiple and they have a smaller budget. What would you recommend just in terms of engaging with smaller budgets and also starting with that persona and bringing it and carrying it throughout a journey?
Yeah, sometimes it is difficult because there can be multiple personas. The question is, what are you trying to solve for? And if there are multiple personas, why? Why are there multiple personas? There's something in it, and those drivers that can really help you. I'm connecting now the persona drivers to actual data, and we're executing that way. But you really want to make sure that it's done because the need is there. They may be outliers that like, oh, I could see there's 3 personas here. They have to serve a purpose for you. And if their attributes don't demand distinction, how much can you consolidate and start with that as a win, and then break in and gain the ability to cull the resources and drive those distinctions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Karen, how are you doing?
Hello.
I have a question about stimulating engagement with journey maps and with personas. Do you have any sort of advice in terms of best practices around how teams can best engage with the end result?
Yeah, so if we think about personas and journey maps, what do we have them for? We have them to have a unified view of our customers, right? That everybody across the organization understands the customer in the same way. We're all using it. If each area starts to create their own personas and journeys, then we're going to have farms, and they're not going to relate. There will be no correlation. So if you're in a department and you're creating your own persona and journey, and it's not connected to the next one, that is a huge flag. That is a huge flag. It's got to resonate across the organization and be utilized that way. The outcome is what you're designing, is the experiences that you're creating. It's not to mount the journey on a wall and say, look at all this work. No, it is for the customer to live something differently. It's amazingly powerful to be able to design what somebody lives, but you have to also respect the fact that if they don't ever get to live that improvement, you're lost. So it's in the outcomes that you look for. And again, what evidence would show if you're successful? Qualitative, quantitative. Did I answer that question for you? Awesome.
Wonderful. Any more questions, comments for Karen before we hop on?
Pop.
No? All right. Thank you very much, Karen. Appreciate it.